Someone woke up feeling angry and confused. He couldn't understand why his vision suddenly went black. He moved his bangs aside and saw that his hand looked different. He also had a mushroom cap that he couldn't remove. He was completely dumbfounded until he saw his reflection in the puddle. He was a mushroom, and he couldn't understand what the hell was happening. He tried to recall what he last did. He was watching a pretty woman. Basically, he jerked himself to death and got reincarnated as a mushroom monster. I think this is better than being hit by a truck, kun, right? He complained about how he's supposed to pick up girls looking like that. He demanded his handsome face back. Suddenly, someone called him Brother Xingbao. Our MC slowly turned back. Then he froze in shock. He thought he saw a beautiful woman. He got excited, thinking there were beautiful girls even inside a mushroom dungeon. He rubbed his eyes and looked more carefully. Now, he saw it clearly. It was just a dull, wilted mushroom. This mushroom asked why he was saying so many weird things today. Xingbao realized he was just being horny. He asked what it meant and what he usually said. This mushroom informed him of what they normally say, and those were, "Intruders! Kill them!" and a scream. Xingbao couldn't believe it. Suddenly, someone yelled that there were intruders. The monsters had arrived. And these guys are what we call orcs. There were two orcs, Labu, a level 1 orc archer, and a level 1 orc warrior named Kabu. Labu was concerned since they didn't have a healer with them. Kabu assured her it was fine since the monsters there were at the lowest level. Plus, the dungeon monsters were really dumb. Their lines and movements were all fixed patterns. A level 1 little mushroom attacked them, but it was easily slain, which proved Kabu's point. Labu realized they could speedrun it again. More little mushrooms charged recklessly. Kabu cut them into pieces. Xingbao watched them and wondered why the mushroom men just charged straight like that. He asked if they didn't know to run if they couldn't win. His mushroom friend explained that the mushroom men were non-playable characters, so they just followed their programming, unlike players who were free. He asked if those two orcs were players. He thought players were usually humans. The mushroom answered that he was just an NPC with a few extra lines of exposition, so that was all he knew. Their conversion was cut off as something nearly hit them. It was an arrow. The archer orc suddenly targeted them. Our boy immediately started running away, but his friend just stood there. He yelled at it to run, but then he noticed it didn't move at all. It completely froze. He rushed back, grabbed it, and told it to run. But the mushroom calmly replied that fleeing wasn't part of the mushroom men's programming. Xingbao stretched out his hand and told it to take it. He grabbed the mushroom's hand, and instantly, a data anomaly warning triggered. The system kept warning them nonstop, but he didn't care about the programming or the anomaly. For the first time, the mushroom felt something. It was touched by his actions. Meanwhile, Xingbao was only focused on one thing: surviving. This left the orcs confused. Mushroom men weren't supposed to run away. Kabu frowned and figured it was a bug, so he decided he'd file a report to the admin once they got out. Bug or not, Labu wasn't about to let them escape. So Kabu decided to log out first to submit the form. He casually warned her not to die, but she laughed it off. There was no way she'd die in a place like this. Xingbao quickly looked around for anything he could use as a weapon, but his friend told him there was nothing. Mushroom men were programmed to be completely unarmed. Then Xingbao noticed something: a treasure chest. If they got lucky, there might be a weapon inside. But the other mushroom immediately shut that down. Those chests were designed exclusively for players. NPCs couldn't open them. It tried to reason out more about it, but Xingbao still tried anyway. More data anomaly warnings exploded in his head. But this time, it worked. He opened the chest. The mushroom beside him stared in disbelief. The old Xingbao would have never done something like this. It couldn't understand how he had changed this much. Xingbao exclaimed that there was a lot of good stuff inside. Suddenly, an arrow shot straight toward them. The mushroom had no idea why it moved like that. Mushroom men weren't programmed to protect teammates. But still, it stepped in. It ran in front of Xingbao and blocked the arrow. It refused to let anyone hurt him. Xingbao froze as blood sprayed out. The arrow pierced straight through his mushroom friend's chest. And before he could react, a second arrow was already flying toward them. His friend collapsed to the ground. And something inside Xingbao snapped. He swatted the incoming arrow away. From the cliff above, Labu watched everything. She was stunned. A lowest-level mushroom monster just deflected her arrow, and it even opened a treasure chest meant only for players. At that moment, she realized it. This wasn't just a bug. This was a serious one. In another setting, outside the dungeon, Kabu reported the bugs they had found this time. A man in a robe replied that he understood. Kabu wondered how long the dungeons had been running and why there were still bugs. The hooded figure explained that it was precisely because the dungeons had been running for so long that oversights during maintenance were inevitable. He added that it was not surprising for various little bugs to appear. He explained that after defeating the human coalition, the Great Lich feared the heroes would cause trouble with nothing to do. So he designed the dungeon system for the heroes' entertainment. Since then, the heroes had entered the dungeon as players to grind monsters, farm resources, and level up. All to kill their boring time. And if players found a bug, they submitted it to the necromancers, the admins, and waited for them to fix it. Back to this one again, Labu decided she would fix it herself. She didn't want to wait for the admins. She unleashed an arrow, and Xingbao anticipated it. He cut it with his knife. He was surprised by his own agile movements and realized that the Mushroom Man body's base stats were actually pretty good. More arrows were fired at him. He parried them all. He realized, however, that it wasn't easy to close the distance under continuous fire with the Mushroom Man's short legs. He wondered if there was anything he could use to block the arrows. Then he noticed the empty treasure chest and cut it open. As the next arrow approached, he used the lid as a shield. Labu wondered how a Mushroom Man could know how to use a chest lid like that. She noted that his actions and behavior were strange. She continued raining arrows down on him, but the treasure chest cover blocked them all. To her, he moved like a player. She was caught off guard when he suddenly leapt toward her and cut her body in half as he descended. Her bow shattered in the process. She collapsed into a pool of her own blood. Suddenly, a notification appeared, congratulating him on achieving first blood. With that, he unlocked a Mushroom Man racial talent called Mycelial Network. Through it, he could link with minions, transmit information and spores, and even share their skills and experience. Once the shared experience filled up, he could level up. He also unlocked another racial talent called Plant Mushroom. With it, he could plant himself or his teammates into enemy corpses or nutrient-rich areas to absorb nutrients and restore HP. After full absorption, he could even acquire the enemy's class and skills. On top of that, he gained Shroom Form Switch, which allowed him to switch between his Mushroom Man body and a reshaped form. He didn't expect to get a system. But then again, after being reincarnated as a Mushroom Man, getting a system didn't seem that surprising anymore. He activated the skill Plant Mushroom. He stepped on the orc's torso and began absorbing it. It felt really good. Until he suddenly remembered something. He looked up toward the cliff. Since his friend had blocked an arrow for him, he decided it was time to save her. He activated Plant Mushroom again. The area was enveloped in a bright glow. Small sprouts began to grow from the corpse. Then, a leg started to form. Slowly, the shape of a human body took form, and eventually, it turned into a woman. When it was complete, she stood tall. Xingbao was so stunned he got a nosebleed. A beautiful woman had just been created. A status window appeared. She was a level 2 Mushroom Man Archer, guard rank, Archer class, with agility as her main stat, and the racial talent Mushroom Man Mycelium. This allowed her to extend mycelium after taking damage, absorb nutrients from enemy corpses, and heal herself. During this process, she could also absorb enemy skills and racial talents. She had already absorbed the Orc Berserk racial talent, which increased damage by 30% for 20 seconds with a 5-minute cooldown. On top of that, she specialized in ranged combat and gained the skill Parasitic Spore Bullet, allowing her to shoot spores into enemies, drain their nutrients without them noticing, and restore her own HP. This woman was now his subordinate. She addressed him as chief and asked to be given a name. A notification appeared, informing him that he had cultivated his first Mushroom Man subordinate and needed to name her. He wondered if Mushroom Men were usually nameless. Then he paused and thought carefully about what to call her. Finally, he gave her the name Saifeng. She acknowledged his command and declared that from then on, her name was Saifeng. Saifeng then asked which instance realm they would clear next. He was confused and reminded her that they were monsters, non-playable characters, so he declared that their top priority right now was to kill the remaining player. Later, only Labu's bones were left. Another orc stepped on them. Kabu was stunned that Labu had been killed by the trashiest kind of monster. He reasoned that a normal level 1 Mushroom Man could never do something like that. Then it hit him. This monster was a rare elite. Now, to him, this trip had definitely been worth it. Rare elites always dropped great loot. If luck was on his side and he picked up blue gear, he could make a fortune. He activated Orc Charge and rushed toward Xingbao. But his attack was parried. He even got scratched on the thigh. Xingbao realized this warrior was much tougher than the archer. A single slash had only done minor damage. The orc, enraged, cursed the Mushroom Man. He admitted he was surprised it had actually managed to hurt him. Unexpectedly, Jingbao turned and started running, and then he shut the door behind him. On the other side was a bridge. Of course, Kabu chased after him, smashing through the wooden door in the process. But then he stopped. The Mushroom Man was just standing there, not moving, not running. Kabu frowned. Why was it just standing there like that? A sense of unease crept in. It felt like a trap, but he reassured himself. No matter what, it was still just an NPC. Unpredictably, the Mushroom Man raised its middle finger at him. Naturally, Kabu was furious at being mocked. He roared that he would chop the Mushroom Man into paste. He stepped onto the wooden bridge, but his weight made it wobble. He raised his weapon and prepared to strike Xingbao. But then, his foot broke through the planks. The bridge started giving way, and the entire structure collapsed beneath him. He fell straight into the water. He cursed the despicable mushroom monster, accusing it of setting him up. Xingbao pointed out that the orc had even dropped his weapon in panic. He added that his movements were now restricted in the water. Then he threw a knife, but it only lodged into Kabu's shoulder. Kabu sneered. Even unarmed and slowed down, a weakling like that couldn't do much damage to him. But then, out of nowhere, an arrow suddenly pierced through the side of his neck. A few seconds before that, the orc stood on the water, mocking the weakling, completely unaware that an arrow was speeding straight toward him. The arrow struck. It pierced through the side of his neck, sending water and blood spraying as it landed. He turned, demanding to know who launched the sneak attack, but before he could react, another arrow hit his head, and just like that, he sank into the water. Saifeng's orc berserk effect faded, and the orc warrior was eliminated. They dragged the corpse onto the shore for Xingbao to do his thing. He activated his ability and absorbed it, and gained the power to reshape his appearance. Smoke filled the air. When it cleared, he was back in human form. Saifeng stared, surprised to see something swinging between his legs. Xingbao panicked, but then he realized it was just the axe handle. For a second, he thought he had forgotten to wear clothes and was fully exposed. A status window appeared. He was now Mushroom Man Chief Yang Jun, Rank Chief, Class Warrior, Blue, with Strength as his main stat, and at level 2. His Mushroom Man Mycelium talent allowed him to extend mycelium while injured, absorb nutrients from corpses and other substances to heal, and during that process, absorb enemy skills and racial talents. He retained the Orc Berserk talent, boosting damage by 30% for 20 seconds, making him far stronger in melee combat. Another notification appeared. Plant Mushroom had upgraded. He could now separate spores from his body, plant them into corpses or nutrient-rich areas, and grow soulless shroom minions. Their experience would be shared with him. These minions could even be transplanted into other minions. Current limit, 2. He also obtained loot. 2 magic pouches, small carry-on bags that could compress and store a limited number of items, like weapons. He asked how they were supposed to get out of there. She explained that this was the bottom floor of the mushroom dungeon, and the only way out was to fight their way up, floor by floor. He then questioned why level 1 orc players could enter directly. She explained that players had special privileges and could choose to start from the lowest level dungeons. He got curious about how she knew all that. She replied that she had overheard it from player chats back when she was still just an NPC. With that, he made up his mind. They would fight their way out, 1 floor at a time. They moved forward until they reached a fork in the road. He asked what lay on each path. She explained that the left led to the level 1 slime floor, while the right led to the graveyard. He told her to head to the slime floor and start grinding. As for him, he would check out the graveyard. When she asked what was so special about it, he smirked. It might be a graveyard now, but in the future, it would become their home turf. On the way, he picked up some ragged clothes and put them on. As he got closer, the smell hit him. Even from a distance, the stench was overwhelming. This place was where everything got dumped. Garbage, corpses, and who knows what else. He finally arrived. Even though the remains had been there for a long time, he could still sense leftover nutrients. He spotted materials mixed into the soil, potion residue, tar, even a torn magic book. With 1 slot left and enough nutrients, he decided to plant another shroom minion. So, he absorbed everything. A strong wind blew through the area. Then, something emerged. A mushroom, with a flaming head. A level 2 pyro shroom. Fire was its main stat. It had the skill Pyroblast, launching explosive fire attacks that engulfed enemies and drained their nutrients, and Blazing Sprint, boosting its movement speed by 50%. It looked intimidating, even if it was a bit small. Then he noticed something. Lights. His eyes widened. Lightning suddenly shot toward him. He reacted instantly and leapt away. Once he landed safely, he turned back and looked for the source. He was attacked by a level 2 graveyard dominator, a lightning snail. He realized it was a monster that fed on humus, making it a competitor occupying the same ecological niche as the mushroom men. He decided that it was time for the pyro shroom to shine. He ordered it to use pyroblast. A fireball rushed toward the lightning snail. It collided with the electricity and caused a huge explosion. The lightning snail was set on fire, but it counterattacked. It unleashed lightning strikes, forcing pyro shroom to use blazing sprint to evade. Our boy observed that the snail moved very slowly and recognized it as a weakness he could exploit. Pyro shroom released flames again, and upon contact, another explosion erupted. The smoke and dust slowly settled. It revealed a roasted lightning snail. Pyro shroom waved happily at Jun. Our MC then told it to stop fooling around and check if the enemy was completely dead. Pyro shroom gave an okay signal. Unexpectedly, its head was sent flying. The snail had come out of its shell. It was still freaking alive, and was now standing on 2 legs. Jun attacked immediately. The snail mocked him, saying he couldn't hit it. It moved behind him, and their attacks clashed. The lightning snail commented that he was slow as a snail. Jun realized that after discarding its shell, the creature moved as fast as lightning. He watched it dash around at incredible speed. He admitted that without its shell, it was much lighter. It charged toward him again. Our boy anticipated the attack. At the last second, he ducked, revealing the fireball prepared by Pyro Shroom. The fireball rushed straight toward the snail. At the last moment, the lightning snail evaded. More fireballs rained down on it, but it kept mocking them, saying they couldn't hit it. Jun simply observed. The lightning snail laughed, saying that even at the same level, he had completely missed. Jun calmly replied that he hadn't missed at all. He wasn't aiming for the snail in the first place. Then, the ceiling rocks came crashing down. The lightning snail finally understood his strategy, but it was still confident they wouldn't hit it. Then, Jun activated Orc Berserk and Orc Charge. The entire area turned chaotic. The lightning snail realized Jun was using the thick smoke as cover. It believed it could still dodge anything. But then, Pyro Shroom appeared. And at the same time, Jun rushed in from behind. It didn't expect him to layer one surprise attack over another. It was caught completely off guard. The impact was brutal. Its body slammed into the wall and splattered, leaving only blood behind. Jun placed his hand over it. A notification appeared, announcing that the electric snail had been destroyed, increasing his nutrient points and unlocking Shroom Soldier spores. He leveled up to level 3, and could now cultivate 3 Shroom Soldiers. He also learned a new skill, Etherealize. Through it, Shroom Soldiers connected to his mycelial network could awaken, absorb nutrients, and increase their combat power. He planted a new Shroom Soldier, Volt Shroom. Its main stat was electric, a fast-moving unit that could convert absorbed nutrients into electrical energy and release electric shocks to attack enemies. It entered an ethereal state. Now, his forces included a level 3 Volt Shroom and a level 2 Pyro Shroom. He was pleased. He ordered them to clean up the area quickly. From this point on, this place would be the Mushroom Men's base camp. Then he paused and wondered how Saifeng was doing. It had been a while since he last gained experience, which meant one thing: she might have run into trouble. Meanwhile, Saifeng defeated numerous slimes, until a monster showed up and asked if she was the one shooting his underlings like target practice. This was the level 2 Slime King. It remarked that she looked strangely familiar, like it had seen her somewhere before. Before it could finish speaking, it was hit. Annoyed, it complained that it hadn't finished talking and called her rude. He was surprised when another attack was about to come. Several arrows struck him, but it claimed that poking holes in it was useless. It punched Saifeng. The impact was strong. Slime King boasted that it wasn't like those underlings. Its body was highly malleable, and physical attacks would only make it lose a bit of fluid. It added that it only needed to keep absorbing moisture from the ground, making physical attacks completely useless. It told Saifeng to die. It was about to throw a heavy punch. Saifeng didn't move. To its surprise, its arm exploded. It got confused as to why its body was collapsing. Then it saw mushrooms growing on its body. A lot of them quickly spread across its back. Even the groundwater beneath its feet was drained dry by the mushrooms. It wondered when the mushrooms started parasitizing its body. Then it realized the parasitic spores might have been on the arrowheads from the start. Recognition hit, and it remembered her as that pink-capped mushroom man. Its body eventually dissolved and dropped a horn. Saifeng got the loot, the devoured Minotaur horn. This unlocked a new ability, allowing Jun to use his own mycelium to create bowstrings and arrows, with mycelial string arrows able to fire magic skills. The Minotaur horn was then stored in the magic pouch. Then, she absorbed nutrients from a slime corpse, causing her experience points to rise significantly. The effects on her were also felt by June. A notification announced that Saifeng had leveled up to level 4. She unlocked Mycelial Arc, allowing her to create bowstrings and arrows using her own mycelium, and her mycelial string arrows could fire magic skills. Another notice revealed that Yang Jun had also leveled up to level 4. He unlocked Force Shroom, a skill that lets hostile shrooms in the mycelial network resonate, gather information about an area, and greatly improve coordination through the network. Saifeng eventually arrived at the graveyard and saw the shrooms cleaning up. She had come to help clean after finishing over there, but didn't expect the 2 newly planted shroom soldiers to have almost cleared the place already. He remarked that it was fine since the area wasn't that big anyway. He examined the Minotaur horn and commented that the material was really good. It was far better than the broken cleaver from the treasure chest before, even better than the level 1 orc player's axe. Still, he regretted that they didn't have a craftsman who could turn it into a weapon. She asked if they should go catch one. He replied that the newly learned skill was perfect for that. He suggested they look around for any players or corpses nearby with craftsman skills. He spread out his mycelial network. Probe shrooms sprouted across the field. Through it, he sensed players fighting nearby. 3 monsters had cornered a man. They told him he had nowhere to run and should just come back with them to forge weapons. The man refused. He didn't want to go back and become a slave. He accused them of working his clansmen to death while forcing them to toil. The blue orc-like monster told him to die instead. The craftsman died. Through the probe shroom, Jun realized he was too late. She asked what was wrong and why she couldn't see anything. He explained that she would be able to see once she extended her mycelium and connected to the network. She followed his instructions, and soon she could see as well. Since things had come to this, if he couldn't save the living, he could at least save the dead. He reasoned that death was just living in a different way. He began releasing spores through the mycelial network. While they were busy, Pyro Shroom and Volt Shroom were fighting over a garbage bag. But in an instant, Pyro Shroom vanished. A red light glowed brightly where the craftsman's corpse lay, and it revealed a level 4 Pyro Shroom dwarf craftsman. Its primary stat was strength, and its fire affinity gave strong resistance to fire. As a dwarf shroom, it possessed traditional crafting skills, along with higher resistance to toxins and physical attacks. Of course, it had a craftsman skill, so it specialized in forging and creation, and with the blessing of the fire attribute, its forging efficiency was even greater. It also possessed the special skill Cannon Mycelium, releasing a controllable chain of fire connected by Cannon Mycelium. The torch chain could link to the network for shared vision while absorbing nutrients stored in it to boost damage. When he regained consciousness, he was confused. Through a small shroom, Jun spoke to him. He told him that he had resurrected him and turned him into one of his shroom soldiers. From that moment on, he named him Firehammer. Firehammer tried to protest, but Jun cut him off, saying he understood, and explained that his probe shrooms had already been tracking those trolls. One of the trolls told their boss that if all the dwarf slaves dropped dead from exhaustion, they would no longer be forced to work. The boss snapped back that he was an idiot. The level 3 troll player underboss explained that if the ones at home died from exhaustion, they would just enter the dungeon and capture more. He added that the dwarves weren't completely extinct yet. There were always survivors hiding in the dungeon. Then he suddenly noticed something was wrong. He demanded to know why mushroom men were there when their nest was right next door. One of them guessed it was probably a wandering elite monster and said he had no idea how it ended up there. Another declared it was their lucky day, thrilled to find an unexpected harvest. He threw his spear. The mushroom man just stood there. Then he revealed a large hammer and threw it at them. They saw it coming. A loud explosion followed when the hammer hit the ground. The troll almost got hit, but he dodged at the last second. To his surprise, the hammer started to levitate and struck him before he could react. They were shocked to learn that the hammer could auto-target enemies. He couldn't understand how a level 3 elite monster could have such high-level equipment. The hammer flew again. One troll blocked it with his sword. He managed to push it away. It flew upward and got lodged at the top of a spike. Firehammer used it as leverage and, through a flaming rope, grabbed onto it while running at high speed. Then, he leaped toward the trolls. A troll was about to throw a spear, but his hand was restrained by mycelial entanglement. And it was followed by mycelial ignition, causing his hand to explode. Firehammer targeted the next one. He jumped onto its back, slamming its face into the ground. He saw another one about to attack with a morning star, but he landed a punch first and sent the troll crashing into the mountainside. Firehammer pulled his hammer back to him. The troll was shocked when he broke the wooden pillars above to cause a cave-in. Even after taking a few hits, the troll stayed confident. He thought he could still dodge the next attack. Firehammer unleashed Firehammer Ignition. The hammer was covered in flames. Then he activated Flying Hammer Fire Rain. The troll knew there was no way to dodge it. When it hit the ground, the flames triggered a chain of explosions. The system notified that the giant deer player had been eliminated. A notification announced that Craftsman Firehammer had reached level 5. He unlocked a new skill called Scrap Recovery, allowing him to strike debris left by the hammer and recover any usable parts. Another notice revealed that Jun had reached level 5 and unlocked a new item. Bundle Foil. A rare and durable work hoop that could be assigned to subordinates to help with daily tasks like forging, gathering, and cultivation, and in emergencies, it could also be used as a Jaeger. Saifeng had also reached level 5 and unlocked a new skill, Instant Backstep, allowing Jifeng to teleport to an arrow he had fired through an arrow thread. Jun told him he had done a great job. He sent the coordinates and told them to come find him. Moments later, they met, and Firehammer hesitantly asked if his chief was human. Jun explained that the reshaped form of a mushroom man was influenced by the race they had in life, and since he had been human before, he now looked human. He added that Saifeng had also been human before being turned into a mushroom man by the Archmage, so her reshaped appearance was human as well. By that logic, he concluded that Firehammer was roughly the same. He changed the subject and asked if Firehammer could use the horn to forge weapons for them. Firehammer agreed that the horn was good material, but he warned that they still needed other materials, and it didn't seem like there were any around. Jun replied that this was the Great Graveyard, so materials would arrive soon enough. He heard a noise above, and not long after, weapons started being dumped through the hole. They picked up a discarded magic iron bracelet. Firehammer used a salvage hammer to reforge it. He threw it into the furnace. Apparently, these wasted equipment are turning into magic iron ores now. On top of that, a level 5 farm shroom assisted him. Firehammer used his forging hammer again, and told the chief that the weapons were done. He also used scrap materials to make him some pants and shoes. He examined the exquisite double-edged sword closely and realized it was far better than the crude orc axe from before. He said it was a really good weapon. It had low magic power. The user could infuse mana into it to cast spells from the blade. The material was quite common, so there was a risk of damage if high-intensity spells were used for too long. Saifeng held an exquisite mycelial bow. It also had low magic power. The user could use their own mycelium as the bowstring and channel spells into the arrow through it. If it fired enchanted arrows of very high intensity, there was a risk of damaging the bow itself. Firehammer told him he had sewn a magic pouch into the lining of his clothes. Now, it was much easier for him to take out weapons. Saifeng asked where they were going next. He answered that they were going to punch through the floor. Over the past few days, he had used the mycelial network to explore the area. The Great Graveyard was at the very bottom. If they went straight up through the garbage chute, each floor had a one-way barrier that only allowed movement downward. But at the end of each floor, there was a passage leading to the next level. So, if they wanted to go up, the best way was to fight through every floor. Besides, they couldn't just let others stay peacefully in their territory. Saifeng asked if they were bringing Firehammer, saying that having one more shroom meant more strength. She felt that Firehammer wasn't just good at forging, but was even more ruthless when fighting. Someone had to guard the place, and they couldn't clear other areas only to return and find their home gone. Still, through the shared mycelial network, Firehammer would gain experience when they killed monsters. He stepped on something and felt a force. A wall dropped down, separating him from Saifeng. He wondered if it was a trap hidden within magic sigils. Now he understood why the probe shroom couldn't detect it. He laughed and said that with the wall's thickness, all he needed was one punch. He wrapped flame mycelium around his fist to create a fire attribute explosive attack. He punched it, but instead of breaking, he was blasted backward. A magic circle appeared where he struck. He realized the trap wall was reinforced with a magic array. Trying to break through it wouldn't work. He added that he and Saifeng would have to take different paths. Since that was the case, our MC turned around. The path ahead led into the Instance Realm's slimy corridor. After they were separated, the terrain changed. He could see many eyes in the dark entrance. He watched carefully and realized it was a snail's nest. One snail recognized that he was the one who killed their brother in the Great Graveyard. He told the others to get him, so they attacked him with electricity. Jun planted his Volt Shroom. The electric attack struck the ground. The snails thought they had hit him and finally got their revenge. To their surprise, one of them was cut in half. Then it happened again and again. Jun moved at incredible speed, forcing the snails to switch to shellless mode to move faster. They were determined to show him the terror of the shellless tribe. But they sensed the mycelium. In a blink, Jun had trapped all of them, and activated mycelial detonation. It triggered a series of explosions, and he kept receiving notifications of increased experience. Moments later, he reached the door and went inside. It should have been the boss room, but it was empty, until he sensed something. A monster jumped onto his back. Fortunately, he escaped in time. He saw a snail shell. It spun toward him. He blocked it with his sword, but it kept spinning. The force launched him into the air. That's when he used his mycelium. It latched onto the shell, and he activated mycelial lightning channeling. An explosion followed. The area filled with smoke. The level 5 Snail King revealed itself. It was a tall, bipedal snail with armor and a sword. Jun realized there was a second phase, and he found it interesting. Meanwhile, Saifeng drew Jun in her mushroom form on the ground. She noticed that after being separated by the wall, there wasn't a single monster on her side, but she was still gaining experience from the mobs shared from the chief's side. They were clearly in the middle of a fierce boss fight, and she really wanted to go help. Back to our MC, the clash of swords didn't stop. Jun was still locked in combat with the Snail King. He parried the attack and countered immediately, but the Snail King slipped away. Then, it rolled into its shell. And from a narrow opening, it fired water beams. Jun instantly realized it was water-type magic. He released his mycelium and anchored it to the wall to pull himself up. He didn't know what kind of liquid it was, so he stayed cautious and chose to dodge first. The moment it hit, his mycelium slipped. He froze for a second when it wouldn't stick anymore. He dropped straight into the puddle, and the attack came instantly. Fortunately, his reflexes kicked in and he blocked it. But even then, he was pushed back. The surface was insanely slippery. He couldn't even stand properly. He quickly realized even the ceiling might be coated with the same fluid, which explained why his mycelium failed earlier. The Snail King declared this was his home ground, and Jun had zero chance of winning. The next strike forced Jun to drop his sword. The Snail King rolled into a ball again and moved in to crush him. Water burst out like a fountain from the impact. Seeing the mycelium, the Snail King asked if he was a mushroom man, then mocked him for daring to compete, calling him nothing more than something at the bottom of the food chain. Electricity surged through Jun's hands as he reached into the water, and the blast sent the Snail King flying away from him. The current spread fast through the water, but the Snail King's aura crushed it instantly. Jun didn't expect that. The Snail King scoffed and said that since Jun had already used that move once, he wouldn't fall for it again. Jun tried attacking using the water's conductivity, and the Snail King found it amusing. It declared that this was its home ground, and since it could control the smoothness of the water surface, it could also increase electrical resistance and weaken any electric shock. Jun admitted it had some control over water, but as the saying goes, dodging well isn't as good as standing in the right place. That made the Snail King glance down. There was mycelium in the water. It froze for a moment, wondering when the entire area beneath it had been covered. Then it realized it had already walked straight into the trap. But the Snail King wasn't worried. It believed it could still control the water's resistance and weaken any electric attack. Jun didn't buy it. He activated Ignite. The Snail King stayed arrogant until it saw the flames. The fire surged instantly and swallowed it whole. When the flames died down, only a charred body remained. Before it fully turned to ash, the Snail King asked why he suddenly switched to fire. It muttered that Jun didn't fight by the rules. The system window appeared, showing that he and his subordinates had leveled up to level 5. He was informed that they could now generate mycelium wrappers on the go, allowing them to compress equipment and store it inside their bodies. He learned that his probe shroom could now function as a network download terminal. He was also told he could now cultivate boom shroom guards, a heavy unit capable of both melee and ranged combat. These could attach to enemies or weapons using their own mycelium, then explode, dealing massive damage and leaving behind magical effects. The exact damage depended on the attribute used during cultivation. When fire points were added, it triggered explosions that dealt area damage and ignited targets. The explosion strength scaled with the minion's attributes and could be triggered manually by the chief. Aside from that, he received a notification that Saifeng had comprehended the core skill Spore Canister. It required building up Spore Rage through normal attacks and skills. Once maxed, she could fire a powerful arrow that, upon impact, scattered spore bombs across a wide area, causing massive explosions. He was also informed that Firehammer had comprehended the core skill Reckless Smelting. This also required building Spore Rage through combat. Once maxed, it could be released through the hammer, rapidly purifying materials in contact while breaking down impurities. He was notified that the isolation seal wall had been lifted. He noticed an unfamiliar human scent coming from beneath the pile of rocks. He called Firehammer to check it out. Firehammer punched through the wall and reached him. There were piles of black rocks. Jun asked if he knew what they were. Firehammer replied that they were black rot stones, formed over time from compressed magic waste and humus. Jun asked if they were valuable. Firehammer said garbage plus garbage was still garbage. No normal alchemist or blacksmith would care about that kind of material. But that was before he became a mushroom man. He then declared that now, it was good stuff. The trace amounts of magical residue that were hard to extract before were easy for him now. He activated mycelial extraction. He said it was as simple as flipping his hand. The extraction finished, revealing a magic silver stone fragment. He added that with this method, he could even extract epic tier mana fragments. Materials like these were highly valuable to players. Jun was surprised. Then he wondered if the piece was too small, like they couldn't make anything useful out of it. Firehammer pointed out there was still a whole pile left. He asked for some time, saying he might be able to dig out more from below. Jun agreed and left the cave to him. Firehammer began extracting the mana fragments. A moment later, he obtained several items: a magic iron stone fragment, a magic aluminum stone fragment, a magic silver stone fragment, a magic copper stone fragment, and a magic gold stone fragment. Suddenly, the ground shook. Jun told him to dig all he wanted, but not collapse the cave. Firehammer replied that it wasn't him. A giant worm monster with rows of sharp teeth was the cause. We then see a shroom charged forward, but it was lifted into the air. Jun grabbed it and asked where it was going when it wasn't its turn to kill yet. He told it to stay back and run errands for Firehammer. He told Saifeng to go. She agreed. He noted that the new shroom soldiers had been linked to the mycelial network and that she could call on them any time. Meanwhile, the probe mushroom sensed something. It reported that the enemy was about to break through the ceiling of the black rot stone cave. They couldn't let it in, so Jun ordered them to distract it and move the fight into the corridor. The probe shroom understood. It taunted the worm, causing it to make a loud noise and move in a different direction. Jun asked Firehammer what kind of bug it was, saying it looked like it was charging straight at them with a clear target. From the sound, Firehammer guessed it was a scavenger blackbug. It had a natural frenzy for humus, making it a strong rival in the same niche as the snail tribe. He added that he would make the fight easier once he finished his setup. At the same time, Saifeng attacked the scavenger blackbug. It was pushed back. She kept striking along its body until her rage filled up. She created distance between them. After all that slashing, it only left a shallow wound. She said it had a tough shell. It had even chipped the chief's blade. The probe shroom told her that the new gear Firehammer made for her was ready. She could download it directly from the mycelial network. The download started. 6% loaded. In no time, it reached 86%. The scavenger blackbug moved toward her. Fortunately, the download finished and she obtained the magic silver arrow. She gathered energy around her and aimed at the blackbug's mouth, and unleashed a fully charged Shatter Edge Roar arrow. She fired it. Then she was forced to jump back when the scavenger blackbug charged at her. She kept her distance. The arrow was lodged in the blackbug's mouth, and mushrooms began growing inside it. The mushrooms started to glow. The scavenger blackbug got close to her, and its body began exploding from the inside. Only ashes were left. But the probe mushroom warned her not to relax yet, saying there was more coming. It reported that probes in the distance had already spotted another blackbug heading their way, but she was already breathing hard. Jun asked through the probe shroom if her stamina was running out, and told her to quickly convert the monster corpses into humus to restore HP. He also suggested that, in the meantime, she should use the newly cultivated shroom soldiers to hold it off. A shroom was summoned. It was a level 6 boom shroom guard. She saw that only 2 appeared. Jun explained that the maximum squad size was 6, and it was already full. She explained that, excluding the transplanted Volt Shroom and Firehammer, the active roster included the chief, Firehammer, herself, 1 worker shroom, and 2 boom shrooms, making exactly 6. And counting the probe shroom, it exceeded the limit. The probe shroom replied that it didn't take up a slot since it was part of the mycelial network. It was like an off-roster unit. The blackbug appeared. The probe shroom observed the creature and noted that since it kept its mouth tightly shut, it might be afraid of getting blasted in the mouth again. A boom shroom coated its weapon in fire and threw it at the blackbug, causing an explosion. The blackbug was clearly hurt. The other boom shroom attacked with a sword. It struck the upper body of the blackbug and shoved it away. They watched it fall. Saifeng wondered if the new shroom soldier was strength type, since it had sent the massive blackbug flying with a single strike. The boom shrooms regrouped. One of them approached the blackbug to pull its spear out, while the other charged at it and threw a self-destructing flying sword into its mouth. The blackbug's upper body exploded. The system window appeared, showing that our MC's experience points had increased and that the Mushroom Man tribe had reached level 7. He learned that he had unlocked the chief exclusive skill, Lone Sovereign. For every subordinate missing from his side, whether fallen or not deployed nearby, all his stats would increase by 10%, up to a maximum of 100%. Probe shrooms no longer needed to vibrate their caps to fly. They could now levitate freely. He could now cultivate a new shroom soldier. Archer Shroom. A ranged unit. It fights with a short blade in close combat and can shoot split arrows with different attributes. It can also deploy a spore umbrella from its cap for short glides. When deployed beside Saifeng, it gains a troop inspiration effect. All stats, plus 10%. Aside from that, he could also cultivate a new shroom soldier, Tunneling Shroom. A worker shroom that had absorbed the burrowing ability of the scavenger blackbug, it could drill through mountains and dig tunnels to reshape caves. When deployed beside Firehammer, it gains a captain inspiration effect. Work efficiency, plus 10%. Alright, that's it for today's story. If you want the weekly chapter updates for this series, those will now be uploaded on my second channel, Manhwa Updater. So if you don't want to miss what happens next, make sure to check it out and join the update gang. Thanks for watching, stay cool, stay awesome, and I'll see you in the next one.